So, welcome everyone. This is our strength and conditioning class. Yeah, get ready to lift some weights, move your body, and let's make sure we do it in a healthy manner. We don't want to walk away from today's class limping or hurting, maybe a little tired and a little sore, but not injured. That's definitely for sure. Yeah, just be mindful. We will be lifting weights today. So have those ready, have a chair nearby. If you want to have your yoga mat nearby too, that will help. It is supposed to be a little bit warm today. I'm not sure if you folks are keeping up with the forecast, but just have some water nearby. So we're hydrating. It's supposed to be, I think, a high of 87. And then I think the rest of the week it's in the 60s. So yeah, of course, we lucked out. If you do happen to have any classes on Tuesday at Santa Ana, we are observing Veterans Day, so no classes tomorrow. And then I just got confirmation as well that the week of Thanksgiving, we will not be meeting at all. So that's been confirmed, so we won't be meeting that week. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or go on the chat and just ask any questions. And if there's any preference or if you want to do a specific lift, maybe we haven't done in a while, go ahead and share that on the chat too, so I could incorporate that into today's workout. But other than that, we'll do a full body workout and we'll start with the warm up right now. Just gonna input it in my fitness tracker. And here we go. So let's just start looking left to right gently. I could already feel the heat radiating through the garage door behind me. And of course, I picked today to run with the team, and we run at 1 p.m. So, yep, just pick the warmest day of part of the day to run. It's okay, up and down. So let's try to breathe, get full range of motion. Slow it down a little bit, but get that full range of motion. Let's do next circles. Switch. Morning, Cherise, Sandy, hi, Olivia. All right, good. Let's go ahead and bring our right hand over. A little sore on the neck, so I'm just gonna feel like I need this right now. Oof. Switch. Not sure if you folks have been to Lucille's at all, but it's a restaurant, barbecue restaurant. It's pretty good food, but yesterday my wife and I ventured out of our typical meal from there. When I say typical, it's not like we go often. We go like once a year or twice a year. That's where Snow Angels. So we usually get this like huge platter, not even huge, just like a full rack of ribs and then maybe a little bit of brisket and a couple of sides and we share that. But they had a like a happy hour yesterday and they had these I think it was brisket or pulled pork nachos and then Nashville um like chicken sandwich. And yeah, let's just say that was probably the greasiest chicken piece I've ever had in my life. Um, let's go bring them in. So neutral shoulder press. And the nachos, I didn't mind too much. It just, but the pieces of meat were a little bit on the fattier side, the ones that we got. Um, but so we ate like around 4 p.m. And I kid you not, maybe up until 11 at night, my stomach was just rumbling, and I don't know if it was what it was, to be honest. Those are single arm windmills, but I'm thinking on my end it might have been the fried chicken, because as soon as and I like fried chicken sandwiches, but that I don't know, that was in that bucket a little too long, I think. Um, so as soon as I took a bite, my was the plate was dripping, and yeah, it's just a lot. So lesson learned, just stick to that platter in reverse. Just gonna go for the full rack of ribs. They have awesome biscuits. They have biscuits with like this brown sugar cinnamon butter spread, which of course is delicious. So let's switch. Switch. Hi Josephine. Hi Mr. Ahmed. Stretching. Just a couple
Good
minutes.
morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good
Mo-
morning.
Morning. Good morning. All right. So let's bring that right arm across. Yeah, I went to so after dinner, ended up going to Barnes and Nobles. I just wanted to get some books on, that could help this class. And then in the spring, like I said, I'm trying to incorporate more material. So I got some books, got a couple books, and yeah, so I'll be incorporating some of the new stuff that I'm reading and other material in the class. So let's switch. So so we had also a like a group meeting on Friday, and again, it was about these changes um that might be coming in the spring. And again, this class will continue with the live video session, but they just want us to incorporate more educational information on the Canvas course and also during lectures or during like the live session. So we were also told to encourage our students to be a little bit more vocal during class time, because it is very, very likely, almost guaranteed, that we're all instructors will be getting evaluated um, next semester. So with that being said, they said the evaluator comes into class. They don't want a really quiet class. They want a class with interaction. So yeah, I might ask you folks to unmute yourselves a little bit more next term if that's okay. So let's switch. Yeah, so I got a book on, what was it? It was on joint and bone health. Let's do trunk rotations and then we'll move on. Um, joint and bone health. I read through first few pages already. It's a lot of good information. So the the authors are two friends that went to school together in elementary and middle school. So, but then one of them or both of them did gymnastics. Let's do big hula hoops. And one of them became a osteoporosis doctor. I know there's a word for that. Osteo. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to. Uh, I'll probably chop that up. And then the other friend became a registration dietitian and fitness instructor. So between the both of them, they collaborated and made this book. And I believe when they switched, when they did the book, they were probably in like their mid to late 50s. So a lot of the information on there are catering for women over 50. So when I started reading, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like this is, really helpful. So let's go ahead and do our hip openers. And yeah, so I'm going through that right now, and yeah, it caters a lot to uh, like premenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, uh, risk and changes, and not just for women but for men as well. And yeah, just kind of getting back in the loop with that. Some good information. Switch. All right, let's do our quad stretch, and I think we should be good to go. So grab right above your ankle and pull back. We had our cross country regional championships on Friday. The women took ninth in the region, so we advanced to the state championships next weekend in Fresno. And then our men also took 13th. Um, so we advanced as well. So we did a little bit better on the men's side. We were just trying to be squeezed in into the top 16. And yeah, we came up in 13, so we were happy. And on the women's side, we're a little bit stronger, so we were hoping for to finish fifth or sixth. But one of my second fastest runner, she got a terrible side stitch, like a side cramp, early into the race, and she never recovered from that. So we ended up being in ninth for that. So, but yeah, that's one of the best finishes we've had. So I was pleased with that. All right, so let's get started with our workout today. We'll separate. I know we've usually done like a giant set of sport specific movements. This time we're gonna do similar, but we're gonna focus on the arms a little bit more as well today. I know sometimes we just do one or two exercises. So the way it's gonna work, we're gonna go with shoulder movement, arms. We'll go legs, and then back or chest. Okay. So shoulders, arms, legs, and then back or our chest. So have your dumbbells nearby, and we'll get started once we have that ready. So I'll give you about another 30 seconds or so. We'll get started. So we'll go shoulder, maybe core to incorporate some core. All right. So for our first movement, we'll start with the first set. I usually like to go a little bit lighter just to kind of start warming up the area. We're gonna do shoulder shrugs. So just bringing the shoulders up towards your ears, and I'm warming up the back, the upper back, and your shoulders. Okay. Then one of the easier bicep movements would be hammer curls. So we'll go with hammer curls on those. For our legs, we'll just go ahead and do walking lunges. We're gonna just go forward, come back, and alternate. And then for our back, we'll do our bent over rows. Okay. So for movement, we'll do 2 rounds of each. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So see. Give me anywhere 10 to 15 and make sure that you go the full range of motion, okay? Without any pain, but we want to get full range of motion. Try not to limit yourself halfway through. That's when we start teaching our bodies to not move our full length. Okay. All right, here we go. Shoulder shrugs. Ready, begin. So shoulders up towards your ears and drop your wrists all the way as well as you can. Up. Four, one. Inhale your way up, exhale your way down. Very good. 30 seconds rest. Gonna put some mosquito spray. I feel them biting me already. All right. So next is hammer curls. Okay, hammer curls. Wrist at your side. Your palms are facing towards your belly button, and then we just bring them up. Down, full extension. 12 to 15 again. Very good. Set them down. We have walking lunges next. So usually when I do these forward, I feel like they target more my hamstring and my glutes. So again, if we're limited with range of motion, you could always just do a static lunge, split squat. But if you're able to do your regular walking lunge or just forward lunge, then let's go with that. Ready? Give me 8 on each leg. Here you go. So kneel, drop that knee, back up, and alternate. Keep your dumbbell straight down. Your arms shouldn't be moving. 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. Drop that down.
Julio, why is it so hard to get the knee all the way to the floor?
If we're going down, I'm guessing you either have some tightness or limitation on that front leg, because as you're going down, that's what's getting stretched, or maybe we're a little tight here on the hips. Because yeah, so it could be either one. So that's usually how I figure out what's being activated. So and you could tell as soon as you're stepping forward, you start dropping your hips. This muscle here, your quad, starts getting pulled. So it's either going to be that, and as you're going down, just even on your split, you feel this kind of like separating as well. So it's going to be one or the other. I don't think it's going to be anything lower leg. It's either right here, mainly on the hind leg, or the front quad. So that's it, it's one of those. So you could try doing the other leg, and then is it easier on one leg than the other, or is it both the same?
It is easier on one than the other.
Which one is it more challenging on?
Right foot forward.
So right foot forward, left leg back. That's more challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be something on your right quad or your left side of the hip. I don't know if you had a previous injury or
Yes.
oh, there it is. Yeah. So it could be either one of those. For me, I've been dealing with this annoying left hip joint pain, but for that, um, honestly, I think I feel great until I do a few squats. And then once I do a few squats, my hip just doesn't feel better for like a couple of days. So just be mindful of what irritates it. And if things are getting better, then sometimes it's just best to even like I'm trying to not do too many squats because it's a great movement, but it just I need to figure this out first. So oof. Let's go ahead and do our back rows. So you could go bent over here and then elbows to your side. Bring that dumbbell up to your chest. Is it your right knee or your left hip, Jan?
I broke my pelvis on the left side in grad school in a bicycle accident, so my guess is that's the culprit.
Yeah, could be limited range of motion there.
Yeah.
My my right pinky is done for. I heard it with some glass back in college, and now I look like I'm drinking a fancy drink every time because my pinky pops up. Yeah, so it just yeah changed. All right, so give me 10 to 12. So inhale on your way up, exhale on your way down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then let's take about a minute break. Yeah, these bent over rows that we just did, if I go a little bit heavier, it's gonna cause some issues. Because I think just hinging at my hips, put some strain on it, that it could irritate it. So another 40 seconds. Remember, we're doing our shoulder shrugs. We're doing our hammer curls. Yeah. Yeah, what's one of the things I read? I think I read 100 milligrams, 1000 milligrams of calcium is what we need per day. And when you consume, if you consume these tablets that are 500 milligrams each, you want to, your body doesn't absorb it all at once. So you want to have at least a 4 hour gap in between the supplements if you're taking supplements. But if you're getting your calcium from natural sources, then you don't have to consume all those supplements. Uh, but you should be mindful because you do want to consume calcium with vitamin D too, especially if you're not going outside. Um, but if you're taking too many supplements too, remember sometimes that could cause issues too, especially digestive issues. So keep that in mind. All right, here we go. Ready? Up to 15. So up. And yeah, if you have history with kidney stones, um, supplements sometimes could not be as beneficial. It could actually um, influence the growth of kidney stones too if we're taking too much. Has anyone dealt with any kidney stones recently? I haven't, but I hear it's very two more. 30 seconds rest. Remember, no classes on Thanksgiving week. Okay, ready? Hammer curls. So start at your side. Dumbbells come all the way to your shoulder. Fully extend down and repeat. Yeah, and then I read also, forget, I gotta confirm, but something about cherry juice. The cherry juice has benefits. If anyone knows what they are, please share. But I think it might be with inflammation. Jen's nodding, confirm. Give me more information, Jen.
Yeah, the key is it's the tart cherry juice and it's like a concentrate,
Okay, yeah.
not a diluted
Right. Yeah.
one.
So when
So, yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so that but it affects your joints but and inflammation as I recall.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always was told sugar is an inflammatory food. So when I saw cherry juice, I'm like, what? I was like, it has to be something specific about the cherry. So that makes sure, yeah, that makes sense that it's something the concentrated. But yeah, but that was one of the things I did see. Let's go ahead and do our walking lunges. To remember, walking or forward lunges or just static front squat. Ready? And 8 of them. Begin. Yeah, I'm like a cherry punch doesn't sound right. Like if I have cherry punch, I feel like I'm gonna have more inflammation. Um, but yeah, cherry concentrate sounds like they have some medicinal benefits. And then I saw, what was it? There was, I don't know if you folks remember or even still consume it, but it did mention that glucosamine. or like the joint juice. Costco used to sell those joint juice. Um, but there's mixed results with that one. It's hit or miss, but the cherry tart has been confirmed has more results. I remember when I was in high school, I had a buddy that had all these leg injuries, and we were, 14, 15 years old, and he's drinking joint juice, and we would call him the senior citizen of our team when we were back 14 or 15. But yeah, I mean, it probably helped him out back, long time ago. Right, and then our bent over rows to finish off this set. Mhm. Ready? So let's go ahead and bend over and get your hip, drop the arms down, and inhale and up, fully extend and down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Very good. Take a minute rest. All right, we're gonna move on to our next set. I think we'll do one more standing set and then we'll move down to the floor for another floor set. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do our front to lateral raises, working on both ankles there. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and do for our triceps. You could either do dips if you have a nice sturdy chair. You could do dips. You can come a little bit closer, or you could do our tricep extension. Okay, so any movement that works on your tricep that you're comfortable with. I know dips could be a bit challenging, so let's go ahead and do our tricep extensions if that's a little easier. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do lateral lunges. Okay, so step right and squat, step right and squat. Okay, if that motion is a little bit too challenging or it just feels funky, to work on the lateral side, what we could still do is a shuffle squat. Okay, so we could do either one of those. If you have a preference, just stop when you see me stop with the lateral lunges. And then for our chest, we're gonna do our underhand grip front raises right here. Okay. All right, those are our next movements. Grab those dumbbells. All right, here we go. So this is gonna be a total of 20 for a count. So it's gonna be 10 of each. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and so lateral, front, lateral, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Very good. I'm gonna go with my dips next. 30 seconds rest. Here we go. Dips or tricep extensions. Ready, and begin. Give me 10 to 15. Yeah. Try to challenge yourself. Make sure you're safe too. Wow. And when you lay down, nice on the left. Wow. Oof. 15. Take. We have our lateral lunges or our shuffle squat, either one. Right. Wow. And keep these dumbbells at my side. So lateral lunges or shuffle squats ready. And begin. So I'm going to do 6 on each side. Step left. Grab your hips. Keep your torso upright. Forward. You go for 8 on each side. Feeling good right now. 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, and 8. Oof. And then our underhand front raise. Yeah. So yeah, so I did all the re-enrollment for next term. So you should see that popping up hopefully sometime this week. So yeah, so which I think it's great because the people that did communicate tend to be the folks that log in and actually have questions and respond to emails. I know I've had some folks enroll and I never hear from them or see them. So yeah, it's just kind of nice that everyone that's enrolled will be hopefully consistent. All right, underhand front raises. We're here. And dumbbells come up, down, up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, number 12, 11. All right, 90 seconds. Well, 1 minute rest and we'll start over. Does anyone have any questions right now or everyone's feeling good? Thumbs up. The thumbs up emoji. Let me see. All right, Miss Wynn, we're good. Oh man, I haven't hopped on the scale. Let me see what the damage is. My scale right here. Oof, that's not good. I'll just put that scale away. Think I have been running a little bit more, and last week I was a bit careless with my lifting. So yeah, and then of course yesterday's meal being helped. So all right, shoulder raises, lateral and front raises. Ready? And here we go. So yeah, usually when I know I'm gonna have a not the healthiest dinner, I try to plan ahead the first part of the day. So I think, but yeah, yesterday I don't know why I was craving a breakfast burrito, and I really wanted one, but I didn't know where to go and get one. But I had all the things at home to make one, so I just did that. But I think I overdid it. So and then yeah, dinner wasn't the healthiest option. Well, oof. Yeah, usually I'll try to just have some yogurt and fruit in the morning. Um, Maybe some egg whites and some toast. I don't know how much that was, but my shoulders are burning. That's another cue when you know you're starting to ache. That's a good time to stop. All right, here we go with our dips or our tricep extensions. Let's go ahead when you're ready. Remember, if you extend your legs, it's the most challenging. If you bring them closer to you, it's easier. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14. The lateral lunges. Was anyone treating themselves to like a nice gift this Christmas? A new furniture or new new technology device, a new TV or camera, anything like that? I think I'm just gonna update
No,
our
not yet. I don't know.
okay, do a little trip. Lateral lunges. There we go. 8 on each side. I think I'm due for some running shoes, so I think that's what I'm gonna do for myself. So I don't feel too guilty. I actually need them, so it was gonna be that camera, but I had to return it. Since the Zoom is the culprit. Or drop your hips. Oops. 6, 7, 7, 8, and 8. Work. All right, we have our underhand front raises. We'll take a quick little break, a 2-minute break, and then we'll grab our yoga mats and do our last exercises on the floor. Yeah, I just added not that I share like an Amazon wish list or anything like that, but just for myself that I added on my list of portable um water tank, like for to ice, like the one probably not as big as the one your son has freeze, but something more, smaller. We just sit in there. What's it? I'm usually a baby going into those things. All right, our underhand front raise for our chest. 3, 2, 1. Go. So up here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. 11 and 12. All right. Awesome. All right. Do me that favor and get your yoga mat set up. In 2 minutes, we will start with our floor exercises. Okay. Done. Put it up. We'll be back shortly. All right. I'm gonna finish off here on the floor. And so just have your dumbbells nearby. You can still use those. And do when we're on the floor, probably a little bit more legs. Okay. So different things we're gonna do here. First movement is gonna be push-ups. They're just knee assisted push-ups or regular push-ups, traditional push-up. Okay. Then for our back, we're gonna do the Superman hold. Okay, so we're just here, chest is elevated, knees are up. Okay. For our glutes and our lower back, we're gonna do our donkey kicks. This is where we are facing down and our heel comes up towards the ceiling and back. Okay. And then for our core, we're gonna do a regular plank. Okay. And then just for our hips as well, maybe right after fall. I don't want to fatigue the hip too much, so after planks, we'll do our fire hydrants. Okay, so that's gonna be our movements, 5 exercises right now. So yeah, whenever we're ready, push-ups, um, Superman's, donkey kicks, planks, fire hydrants. All right, here we go. Ready? So getting your push-up position, whatever variation it is that you're doing, you want to aim for anywhere between 8 to 15. Okay. Just be careful, use your own judgment, take a little break if needed. Ready? And begin. Yeah. Wow, Jen. Yeah, when I was mentioning the glucosamine, the joint juice. Um, it said studies were kind of mixed results with that, but the one that had consistent results was turmeric. That's the one that I remember a couple of years ago. I used to make my rice look really fancy just by adding a little scoop of turmeric to it, and it looked like I was like some amazing chef. But it was just yellow powder on rice. All right, belly down, shoulders, arms up, and then knees and legs up. 3, 2, 1, up. And go for 30 to 40 seconds. So yeah, so I know you could use turmeric as like a spice and just add it to your food, or we also sell capsules. That's more for inflammation and arthritis. More inflammation. 3, 2, 1, time. I remember in college there was a couple years where it's probably so bad, but I was just, um, taking ibuprofen whenever I felt tight or anything like that, and taking it, pretty commonly. And then when I heard about turmeric, I completely changed after that, and yeah, I saw about the same benefits. I was like, I'd rather eat something natural than, taking all these ibuprofens in there. So we're gonna go with our donkey kicks. So give me 12 on each leg. And remember for these, our heel is towards the ceiling. Sometimes what I see as mistakes is usually kick back. And I also want you to keep your head looking downwards, okay? Give me 12 on each leg. I'll do one leg at a time. Ready, begin. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 10, 11, 12. I'm gonna switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And stop. And we'll go with our plank hold. Remember, this is one of our assessments. Your plank hold. 3, 2, 1, and begin. Plank hold. For 2 more seconds. We're at 20 seconds right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks. Oof. All right, for this first round, we'll do fire hydrants. And then for the second round, we'll do Jane Fonda's. Okay, just so we can get a little bit of variation. And then we'll do one more set after that. if anyone has any books that like they would like to share, or they've seen good information, it's a good read, send me an email. Because not gonna lie, yesterday when I was at Barnes and Nobles, the bookworm in me got excited and I was like, I need to read more. I was kind of glad we were just going to take Julian and get him distracted, and yeah, I walked away with a couple of books. So, all right, fire hydrants, head down, ready, and begin. So let's do 8 on each leg. Remember, you're looking down, lift that right leg to your side. And if you have limitations on it with range of motion, at least try to lift it as high as you can without any pain. You might just get stuck in a certain area, and that might just be right now our tendons switch when you're at 8. It just be our joint is limited right now, but you can strengthen it, loosen it up, and maybe we get more mobility out of it. In coming weeks. So, okay. 1 minute rest, and we're gonna do that circuit one more time. Oof. Still doing okay? Let me know if I'm talking too much. All right, so remember the first one is gonna be push-ups. Okay, so if you can and if you feel good, try to give me maybe 2 more than the first set. Okay? Okay, let's get ready. So if we did 10 last time, let's aim for 12. There we go. 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. Please inhale on your way down, exhale on your way up. We got our Superman snacks. Belly down. Remember, all of these were on the floor. So Superman's chest up, knees up. You could do Superwoman's too, and Superwoman's would just be with the arm movement, okay? Either one. 3, 2, 1, go. Like 25 seconds. Oh. Give me 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oof. Donkey kicks. Starting in 10 seconds. And we go 3, 2, 1, go. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right. We are gonna, oh, we have our planks. We have our planks and then our Jane Fondas. We're done. So 2 more exercises. All right, here we go. Ready? And up. One of your planks. One time. Almost there. So, then you get on our side. Right here. And then Jane Fonda, so just raise your leg up and control it down. We move 10 on each side. And then what I would recommend, if we're able to, we did quite a bit of leg stuff today. So just to like cool off the legs, if you don't mind going for like a 5-minute walk around your block, just to cool off before it gets warm. I find a nice walk like that, it's a little bit more beneficial than just holding a stretch. Which and begin.
It's already 82 degrees here.
Oh no.
I
Yeah.
live in Paris.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Paris, France.
I wish.
So, all right, folks. Who was that? Was that
It's Josephine.
I just yeah, no, it's supposed to be warm and I think the rest of the week. And I don't know why I chose to run at 1 p.m. today with the kids. But I did. So
At 1
other-
p.m.? Oh, this later.
yeah, that's when we have practice, yeah. So oh well,
How
yeah.
you have to do it.
No, makes it tougher, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, how's everyone feeling?
Okay.
Good. All right.
Bye.
I love the exercise.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to switch it up, and yeah, the hip stuff I kind of need and benefit from.
Don't get old. Don't get old.
Don't get yeah, I know. It was I was reading once you turn 30, your body usually breaks down bone faster than it makes it or create or tries to save it. So that's like, and I remember hearing that, but I remember when I was in college, our professor really emphasized it to the late teen women or early 20s women. And I was like, hey, right now, you girls have to get your supplements in, eat your most calcium that you can, because all those calcium deposits are in your bone marrow. And if you kind of go into your later years with depleted bone marrow or bone density, it's gonna affect you. And yeah, I was just reading that and I was like, oh shoot, yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's not forget about that. And yeah, it's just gotta take care of yourselves. So
Yeah,
That's
you have to take care of yourself. Definitely, it's just the proper way.
right, yeah, because like I think when it was convenient for me, I was like, I could still eat fast food, and if I take all these supplements and vitamin supplements, it's like I'm eating real fruit, and it's not, and it's yeah. So but yeah, so it was kind of refreshing just to read. So I think I'm gonna try to be a little bit more of a bookworm and read more and share what I see and you folks correct me too because not everything that's out, especially on the internet is not accurate, but stuff that's at least been published or researched, I feel a little bit more comfortable sharing. But I know sometimes we watch some videos together that look great, but then we listen to them together and we're like, I don't know about that. So, so yeah, so just be mindful and yeah, it always helps when there's a study attached to it, and especially a study when there's a large population, because sometimes there's these skewed studies and they're like, oh, 3 out of 5 people experience this. And I was like, well, I need like 80 out of 100. I don't need 3 out of 5. Like that doesn't tell me much. So
I started watching videos like after with the pandemic,
yeah.
and I made my children crazy. Oh, look at this video, this, that. And my son, my oldest son, he's majored in biology.
Uh-huh.
And he said, Mommy, no, don't pay attention to that. That's not right, this and that. And
Yeah.
then I slowed down and then
Yeah.
go to the doctor, and he said, Doctor, can you do this exam for me? You read that in YouTube, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, or Facebook. My mom sees a lot of that stuff. ¿Sabes el doctor aquí en Facebook? And I'm just like, oh, mom, like it's not all that. And
Now I do my own research.
Dr. Rivera.
yeah, but I mean, a lot of things are placebo and stuff like that, and it helps, and it could work. I know some things for me have, but there's other things that it's so misleading and
Mhm.
it's I'm not a person like that, if it works for you, great, like, but sometimes I see some stuff where like people put like those like like sticky pads on the bottom of their feet and they come out black in the morning and
Oh, I saw
all
that.
of a sudden like that pad has all the negative energy in your body. And I'm just like,
Okay.
maybe it just activates with sweat. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things that, but if it works for them, then so be it. But
Just the glue attached to the sticky thing will hurt
yeah, right.
for her.
It'll turn into flames. So but yeah, so hopefully everyone had a good session. Does anyone have any questions before we head out?
No, todo bien, Julio, gracias.
Okay, de nada. And make sure, like I said, if you guys have had some good reads, I'm sure you have, share them with me because I like to be informed as well.
Well, I read a lot of mystery books. Do you want to?
Yeah, maybe on the downtime, maybe in the winter, but I'm trying to build this canvas shell. I need 70 hours of information for you. So, yeah. And again, you don't have to go through it. It has to be there for everyone. But I'll see you folks
Thank
on
you.
Wednesday.
See you
Bye,
on
everyone.
Wednesday.
Have a good
Yeah.
day.
Good day. Bye.